Welcome to Oregon Indie Film, a video podcast that shines the light on Oregon's independent film industry. I'm your host, Dawn Sellers. I interview Oregon's independent filmmakers who offer insights into the creative process, challenges, and triumphs of making movies in Oregon. This episode features Jared Bumgarner, the producer of Astronaut, about an absurd day in the life of a man trapped in his own delusions until he finds the power of collaboration. We chat about this short comedy that is a collaboration itself with live action and animation, and also a collaboration between Jared and his friend Zach Sheehan, who wrote and directed the film. We also talk about Jared's other work as a first assistant director and production scheduler with Shadow Machine. He worked on Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which won the Oscar, Golden Globe, BAFTA Awards, among others, for Best Animated Feature. This interview is the final one in a series of conversations this summer with filmmakers whose work will be screening at the Portland Festival of Cinema, Animation, and Technology. I hope you enjoy this episode of Oregon Indie Film. Welcome to Oregon Indie Film. I am here today with Jared Bumgarner, who is the producer of Astronaut versus Astronaut. I love the
That's
title.
Right.
An absurd day in the life of a man trapped in his own delusions until he finds the power of collaboration. So I love that.
That's it.
It'll be screening Sunday, August 23rd at 6 p.m. in the Comedy Shorts Showcase of the Portland Festival of Cinema, Animation, and Technology, also known as PFCAT or PIFCAT, however you want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
So welcome, Jared. Thanks for being here.
Thank you, Dawn. Happy to be here.
Yeah. I think we'll just start off having you tell us who you are and what you do.
Sure. Yeah. So I am, who am I and what do I do? That's a great question. I am Jared. I'm the producer of this short film that Dawn just introduced. Thank you, Dawn. That was perfect. But in my regular day job life, I'm actually deeply invested in the stop motion community here in Portland. So I primarily spend my time, currently I'm working at Shadow Machine. I've been here for 8 years. I'm a unit production manager here, working on just the biggest stop motion feature films you can imagine. That's what I do. And so my specialty is scheduling, primarily. Scheduling for stop motion is kind of its own beast, its own specific beast. So that's my focus, just helping to sort of guide these movies across the starting line and then eventually across the finishing line here. But what I love about what we did with Astronaut is that I got to snap out of this giant feature film mindset and switch over and make something fast and loose and fun and dip back into live action, which I haven't really messed with in a couple of decades. So it used a different part of my brain. So yeah, I try to stay busy. I mean, the stop motion stuff keeps me quite busy, but it was fun to make this little live action sci-fi comedy mixed genre thing with my best buddy Zach and a crew of Portland's finest. Yeah. I think
great.
That's it. That's me.
Yeah, that's you in a nutshell, huh? Well, did you always want to be a filmmaker? I mean, you've been at Shadow Machine for 8 years. That's quite a while. So did you always want to be a filmmaker?
Yeah, I think so. I think, if that's a good question. I think if you ask my mom, she would probably reference when I was 8. This is going to date me. When I was 8, Jurassic Park came out, and I was a little kid obsessed with dinosaurs naturally at the time, even before that movie. And then my dad took me to see it. Maybe I was a little too young at 8 years old, but he knew I was going to be into it. And I was just fascinated. I don't remember what I said, but my mom says something like, I was just fascinated by the effects of it all and the immersion of it all. And it was like clear that they built that stuff practically, or at least most of it. Those dinosaurs were there with those actors. And I just became completely obsessed. That was like the moment of inspiration for me when I was a kid. But I didn't really do much. I wasn't, a lot of filmmakers, I think, will say, oh yeah. And then I got a Super 8 camera and I got my Legos out and I made a bunch of stop motion movies, or I made skate videos with my friends or something. I didn't do any of that. I played soccer, and I just messed around in the woods in New Hampshire. But then I ended up at Ithaca College, where I just kind of immediately realized I needed to get into the film and into their cinema production program. And so I just kind of remembered why I loved immersive filmmaking, and I got into that cinema production program in school, and I just have never really looked back. And so I ended up doing a little bit of live action stuff in New York City. This is 2007, 2008, 2009, for a couple of years in New York. But then the writer's strike happened, and the Great Recession, as it were, happened. And so we had to leave the city, came out here in 2009, and just started pounding on Leica's door, like pretty much as soon as I got here. And I got in I think it was 2010, I guess, early 2010. They hired me on to Paranorman, and I've been in stop motion animation ever since, and just really haven't looked back until now, until like my buddy Zach Sheehan, who wrote and directed Astronaut. He's just been kind of pounding on my door for years to try and get me to help him make a movie. And he finally twisted my arm enough to make Astronaut last year, which has been great. It's been great. So I've been in the world of puppets and miniatures for almost 2 decades. And now I'm like trying to shake my live action cobwebs off a little bit with these short films.
Yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
Well, and so you mentioned you worked on Paranorman. You have worked on some highly successful projects, including you did the stop motion on Booksmart, and Box Trolls, and then, I think most recently Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which is sort of a big deal, award-winning.
Yep. That was definitely the high watermark for us, for sure. Right. I feel like Portland's been, I can't remember. I know Portland has brought home Oscars before, but it's been a long time. And we were chasing them at Leica forever. We're still chasing them, bless them, with Wildwood coming out. But it was next level to get to work for Guillermo get to work with him and bring Pinocchio to screen. And just like, with a voice like his, with the reputation he has, he was able to just push stop motion into everyone's faces in Hollywood in a way that like we've been trying to for years. So it was really exciting to like see other people get excited the way we've been excited for decades now. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's great that it's getting the recognition that it's getting, for sure. And so on that film, you kept like over 200 crew members on track. I mean, your organizational skills must just be over the top.
I think so. I always, we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome for sure. So I get a little intimidated when I hear that, but yeah, it's my job to, on these big films, it's my job. Basically, I'm the first person to get the scripts usually. And then I take it from script form to eventually like, okay, 2 years later on a random Wednesday, what is that specific animator or that specific set dresser or that specific puppet hospital person, what do they need to do on Wednesday afternoon 2 years from now in order to get this thing made? And that's my job, and it doesn't happen overnight. There's like, I have a very, I have a system for that I've developed over the years to get it from the script to a shooting schedule like that. But it requires, it requires me to hold a lot in my head. But it also requires me to get it out there to my crew. So one of the things, like my absolute sort of magic wand for organizing a movie like that is what I call the big boards, or I don't call them this. We call them as an industry the big boards, and that's our visual schedule. And so if you can like look up behind the scenes of any stop motion, like look up big board stop motion, and you can see pictures of the different ways that different studios around the world do this. But it's all basically variations on the same thing, which is I have a 4 by 8 foot pin board. I have a bunch of them on 2 sides of a hallway, and a bunch of string that make a grid, and then a ton of little cards, little construction paper cards and strings and rubber bands. And I keep a schedule, a day-to-day shooting schedule like that by hand visually, not in some Google sheet, not online anywhere. It's all done by hand. So it's public. And what that allows me to do is take sort of honestly, selfishly, take a little bit of the pressure off of me and make it everybody's problem. Like I'm not the one, right? I'm not the one animating. I'm not the one lighting. I'm just telling everybody what they should be doing and when, and I need to make that public. And I tried to make that. It's the only way to do it, in my opinion, is to get it out of your brain, pin it on a board, and stand everybody in front of it every single day, including the director. And it just works. It works, especially in a medium like stop motion, where we have all different kinds of creators. We have, we have people we have digital artists who are sculpting and rigging digitally on a computer, but then we also have camera people who like come from like old school live action, who like never look at a computer in their lives, maybe, and so you've got people all over the place, and so this becomes like this nexus. The big boards become this like nexus of information where all those people can literally stand side by side and see the same thing and understand the same information. It's really great. And so I've been doing that work since the box trolls, which was right after Paranormal. I've just been scheduling ever since. And I tried to take that ethos straight into Astronaut, straight into making this tiny little live action movie, right? Which the scope and scale of which was like nothing like Pinocchio. But of course, on the day when you're shooting, it kind of does feel like Pinocchio. Like you have to make your day.
You're using the same skills, the same methods, no matter the size of the project.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. And the money runs out on both in one way or the other, right? And so you have to figure it out. There's never enough. So I try to pull from all worlds for every project that I'm involved in. Yeah.
And I noticed that you also do a lot of photography in your own time.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
Yeah. You found that, did you?
Researching a little bit. Yeah. No, beautiful photography. So I'm interested in hearing, like, does one influence the other? Like, does photography influence your work in stop motion, or does stop motion influence your work in photography?
That is really interesting. I think it definitely, it goes both ways for sure. I'd say that like the easy stop motion to photography one is, I don't know if you found this, it's out there somewhere, but I did a series ages ago. My first kid was born, called Best Dad Ever, where
I did see that.
Did you see that? Where I just like torture my child on film. So I just so that was a photography series where I put my kid in seemingly dangerous situations in a still photo, and all it is, obviously, it's just a series of plates stitched together, and I was able to do that. I think some of those are more successful than others, but the ones that are successful are because I'm watching some of the best lighting technicians in the world, in my opinion. I've been following Frank Passingham, who's a world-class cinematographer. I can hear him, I think, across the studio. I've been watching him light these stop motion films for a decade and a half now. And I took what I've learned and brought it into like, okay, here's how I can make this scenario seem very unsafe for my kid, even though it isn't. And it's great. So that was a direct work to photography. I think the other way, photography back to scheduling and producing and production management, is I think because a part of me is an artist, actually. When I have a camera in my hands, I can empathize with the people I'm trying to schedule a little bit easier, maybe than some. I think that's really key to production management. I think is like you have to come in with true empathy, because these people, like you say, on a feature, you might have 250 people running around the studio who all are like looking at my schedule to find out what they need to be doing and when. There's a lot of pressure on them. They're like, in some cases, some more than others, are like just really pouring themselves into their work, like, and it's very personal, and it's they're vulnerable, right? And at the end of the day, their work needs to go in front of somebody like Guillermo del Toro or Olivia Wilde, in the case of Booksmart, or these people who are these outsized personalities. And so I need to come in with a lot of empathy when I'm trying to get that work out of them and be like, I know you need more time. You don't have more time. How do I deliver that message empathetically? And so I think like having done photography work myself really helps with that, I think, a little bit. Yeah.
You could kind of
Yeah.
speak the language and have a little more understanding.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so let's talk about
Yeah.
Astronaut.
Yeah.
So written and directed by your friend Zach Sheehan.
Sorry, 1 second, Don. Sorry, 1 second. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. Can I do you? Okay, I'll come find you. Thanks, Mark. Sorry.
The work never ends. So written and directed by your friend Zach Sheehan, who you said sort of had been after you to help him with this film. So what made you finally say yes?
Oh man, I think that what made me say yes? I think that I believe in Zach. I believe in Zach. He and I went to school together. I've known him for 20 years. And we went to film school together. I helped him make his senior film. I was a cinematographer on his senior film. That might have been the last time oh no, that's not true. We've collaborated since. So we've dipped into each other's projects a little bit over the years. And I think that the thing that's kept me, he's incredibly motivated to just create. He's just got ideas pouring out of his ears all the time. And what happened was we kind of got on these separate but similar tracks where he also works in stop motion with me. Okay. But because I'm in production, he tends to be in the art department, set dressing, set construction, he storyboards. So he's all over the place creatively on these projects.
Is he at Shadow Machine also?
He starts in a week and a half, which
great.
We're very excited about.
Great.
So it's been a minute, but he's coming back, which is great. But because I'm in production, I'm usually on a lot earlier than him. The pressure gets turned up a lot sooner on me, and so I just haven't had time really. And he knows that, And so with Astronaut, it came at a really kind of a perfect time. Pinocchio was done. We had done a couple of TV shows here, one for Nickelodeon, one for Peacock, but those had kind of settled down. And quite honestly, I just had no good excuse anymore. So it's okay, dude, let's do it. Let's do it. So, and it just felt possible finally to do something and to do it right. And then the other thing, so a long answer, but the other thing that made it feel possible was what was going on here at Shadow Machine. So in between projects, we the owners, Alex Bulkley and Corey Capadonico, they gave us permission to kind of run this program that we called SMO, the Shadow Machine Open Workshop, SMOW. And what that was basically they allowed, I helped facilitate it with my other producer, Melanie Coons, and Brian Hansen, our animation supervisor here. But what it was is basically we have what I'm staring at on the other side of this camera. It's just a sea of equipment and open studio space. And it was just sitting here. And they allowed former Shadow Machine employees, people who were not currently employed, but were around and in the trusted family. They allowed, we set up this program so that people could pitch projects and say, hey, can you give me a couple of weeks in this one unit for this thing I'm doing or this commercial that somebody hired me to do, but I just need space. And it was amazing. It was just and they didn't charge any money for it. They just said, yeah, you know what? We have the gear. Here, sign the right waiver in case you get hurt. It's not on us.
Yeah,
and then we're
what
good,
a wonderful opportunity. Yeah.
It was unbelievable. And so that was happening. And Astronaut was, I think this is true, that Astronaut ended up being definitely the most ambitious project that went through that program, by a lot. No one else was doing live action stuff the way we were doing. And we also had animation in ours and all this stuff. And we were using the whole studio as sets. This is one of our sets. The other reason why I'm standing here is this door is one of the sets. Spoiler alert, the astronaut comes through this door, which is kind of fun. So we were all over the studio and kind of took it over for a while. But without that program, we wouldn't have been able to do it. And so it's the other thing that happened kind of at the same time as Zach came to me with this script. We had a lull in our schedule and we had this opportunity to use this studio and all the equipment for nothing, and I was okay, maybe we can actually make this funny little sci-fi movie if we can turn weird corners of the studio like this into sci-fi sets for cheap. So it was good. It was a confluence of things, which was great.
And so a combination of both live action and animation. And so was that always the plan with the film?
That was always the plan. And really it's Zach and I both are so deeply invested in mixing mixing
Yeah.
mediums like that. Like my Jurassic Park example is like where I started. He's always been interested in sort of this mix. I don't know if I think he would agree with this. He's sort of, I think of him as like being heavily influenced. It's, we went to film school at the exact right time for this, where
Right.
Michel Gondry was really popular, like Eternal Sunshine and some of the weird, like cardboard, magical realism stuff he was doing, mixed with sort of the grittier, like Spike Jones kind of writing, and him trying to mix puppetry. Like I know Where the Wild Things Are that Spike Jones did with like big live action puppets mixed with digital faces. That was a huge influence. Mixed with like, he just loves Muppets, like the literal Muppets, So we've always been interested.
Right?
Who doesn't?
Yeah.
So we just love the idea of using animation, using puppetry, using whatever tools you have based on the people around you, really, and the talent that's in front of you to put the best version of your story on screen. So it was always the plan, and that's sort of we very specifically wanted to pick a project that could lean into that, because like I said, he's got folders full of ideas and scripts, and we were like, well, this one I think brings together these worlds in a really interesting way.
And so this film, Astronaut, is really about, the theme is the power of collaboration. And the film is a collaboration with you and Zach, with Shadow Machine and other people. So tell me, though, what would your ideal collaboration be? Like an ideal collaboration process, if you could come up with one. Today I'm chatting with one of the filmmakers you'll meet at the Portland Festival of Cinema, Animation, and Technology, also known as PFCAT, happening August 18th through the 23rd at OMSI. At PFCAT, you'll experience 170 indie films from 30 countries, filmmaker Q&As, educational panels, and networking events. It's 6 days of events that brings our local community together through visionary film and animation. There's a free Creator Expo on Saturday, August 22nd you won't want to miss. Find the full schedule and tickets at pdxfestofcinema.com. This link will be included in this episode's show notes. Hey there! If you're enjoying this episode of Oregon Indie Film, don't go anywhere. We've got more great conversation coming up. And if you believe in uplifting local voices and the power of independent storytelling, we'd love your support. Hit that follow button, share the show with a friend, or leave us a quick 5-star review. It makes a big difference. Want to get more involved? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com. Now, back to the episode.
Oh my gosh. Ooh, whoa. Ideal collaboration process. I think like if I lived in this fantasy world that maybe you're setting up for me here.
Yeah.
I think it would be, I think that the ideal for me, knowing that this is very difficult to do, part of me is thinking about these giant features that I work on all the way down to these little things. Ideally, you'd have everybody, all the creative and financial, maybe not financial always, but certainly creative, the production stakeholders in the room all the time with you. I feel like what's difficult about filmmaking, I think, is that quite often the biggest stakeholders are like pulled in different directions sometimes. They're just not everybody's able to just like be there with you all the time, so that like when you come up to a roadblock, everybody's in the room ready to solve it with you. You have to you solve it with the people who are in front of you. Be like, well, the cinematographer is on some other job because we couldn't afford to have them on this day. So we got to wait to get that. So like decisions get drawn out because your people aren't all there. And that's kind of the nature of this kind of filmmaking, right? There's just never enough money to have everybody on retainer all the time, essentially. Or in the case of some of the bigger ones, like you're working with these filmmakers who have other commitments. They're making other films and they can't, we make these giant stop motion movies in Portland, Oregon, not in Hollywood. So no one's going to just move here and uproot their lives. So, which is totally understandable. So I think that my ideal, like the sort of the North Star for collaboration that I look to all the time is just are the right people in the room to make these decisions. Because I sort of, if they're there, then I always, it's back to that empathy point. Like another side of that empathy coin for me is that I just believe that you deserve to be here. Like if you're here working on a movie with me, you went through a process to get here, and I trust that you are deserved of it, and that you can do the work. And so my only goal is just get you in the damn room, you know, because if you're in the room, you're going to make the right decision with me. You know, we're going to work that out together.
I think that's really a key to good collaboration is trusting one another.
Yeah,
like trusting that the people that are there deserve to be there. That's just such a great point. I really like that. So for people who may not be familiar with stop motion and animation, can you give us a quick rundown on kind of the difference between the two?
Yeah, sure. So like the difference between like stop motion and a normal live action, stop motion and maybe a more traditional 2D or CG animation. Stop motion kind of lives right in between all of them. I joke that it's kind of the worst way to make a movie. Actually, I love, and that's coming from someone who would never do anything else in the whole world. I love it. I think it's the best. But it is extremely difficult. So I think one of the things on a stop motion set, like sort of the main goal, kind of the main goal of a stop motion crew, at least most of the time until you get to post-production, the main goal is to make sure that your animation crew is working all the time. If I have an animator sitting in the canteen, like flipping on Instagram or whatever, like we've failed somehow collectively to keep that person busy. That person is here to push a puppet around one frame at a time. So, so the way stop motion works, I guess I should say, is that traditionally, there's 100 different ways to do stop motion, but traditionally, if you're watching like a Leica movie or Pinocchio or one of those big features, generally what happens is we build sets essentially on a tabletop, what we call a deck. And those sets have, 3 walls and a floor, maybe a ceiling, maybe a sky is painted behind it, whatever it is, it's filled with props. And then we have a puppet that's maybe this big, maybe this big if it's a TV show, whatever it is. And they are tied down to that set. They're bolted to the set, like through their feet. And we have a stop motion animator in there eventually who gets launched on the shot, and they move that puppet one incremental movement at a time. And we take a picture. Every one of those poses, we take a picture. So, and when you string all those photographs together, you get the illusion of movement. And so, that's stop motion. So you do a similar thing in traditional animation or CG animation, but you're doing it in a computer, you're doing it with keyframes, you do it in a system that allows you to go back and change things later. Oh, I didn't like that drawing 6 drawings ago. Let's just go tweak that drawing. In stop motion, you can't just go back generally. I mean, you can sometimes, but it is wildly labor intensive to roll back, get that puppet back into that position that it was in 6 frames ago and start over. That is a wild task. So for us, it's crazy. There's still this spontaneity to this, more similar to live action than what you might get from a CG show or a 2D show. There's still this like, okay, animator, we're going to close the curtains, and you've been briefed on your shot. Maybe you rehearsed your shot even. We know everything about what you should be doing, but we're going to close those curtains and lock you in here, and we'll see you in 3 days. And we'll see what that shot really looks like when you're done with it. There's a spontaneity and an excitement to it. So that's a big difference. But the thing for me, from a production management point of view, from a scheduling point of view, which is my focus, is the thing about stop motion is every single animator, this is kind of obvious, but it must be said always. I say it a lot around here. Every animator requires a certain number of physical assets in order to do their job, right? Whereas a CG animator, if you get behind on a CG show, as long as you can find more CG animators, hire them, and have a desk and a computer for them, you can copy paste those characters to them, and they can help you out.
Right.
For us, every animator requires at least one puppet. Animators around here require at least something like 1,500 to 2,000 square feet of unit space. You need at least one unit. And those units need to be big enough where they're safe and people aren't ducking under things and getting concussions, hopefully, knock on wood.
Yeah.
You probably need a set, although sometimes you don't. If you're shooting on a green screen, you probably need a camera crew, a set dressing crew, a rigging crew, which is where I'm standing. This is the rigging department. They help puppets leap through the air, on little ball jointed rigs that get painted out afterwards. So you need a lot of support, physical support, person labor support, and then they require a lot of time once they're out there, which every animator requires a lot of time regardless of the medium. But that's the thing about stop motion, is that it is a resource driven endeavor. And on top of that, so what you end up with is, on a big show, on a big feature like the ones I work on, you end up with maybe a studio that houses something like 50 to 60 active shooting units. So that's 50 to 60 sets that are going all at once. You probably don't have that many animators. You might have that many animators, but while they're animating over here, we're getting their next unit ready over here. So your show is just like bifurcated like that, like in insane amount. So your director's focus, your cinematographer's focus is split, and it becomes people like me on the production management side. It's our job to make sure that everybody's at least paying attention to what is most important right now. Mm-hmm. Of those 60 units, here's the 20 we need to think about in dailies today, and then the rest are going to be tomorrow morning or whatever. So that's interesting. And that's a big difference between us and like a live action shoot, where, on most live action shoots, you're going to have your main unit, all eyes are on that main unit, and you might have a B unit out getting B-roll somewhere else. But you really are just, everybody's focused on what's right in front of them, because you only have one actor or one actress to point your camera at. For me, I have 20 main actors, because we duplicate those puppets 20 times or whatever. And so, I don't know, that kind of went off the rails, but that's
very
what I think about.
Though.
It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild. I love it. For some reason, I love it. Yeah.
Is there any advice you would give to someone who's interested in starting in stop motion? Like where would someone start?
Where would you start? I mean, I think that if you're interested in stop motion, the cool thing about stop motion at an industrial level is because there are, like you said, there's 200 to 250 jobs. Over the course of a feature, we employ usually between 400 and 450 people. Wow. They just roll on and off at different times. And so it is very much a multidisciplinary affair, right? If you might not care about animation or have ever thought about animation, but you really like robotics. Mm-hmm. Or so, maybe you're like a robot nerd and you just play with servos and microchips in your basement all day long. Well, we have a department for you. We have a motion control department, where like that's all we care about. We have an army of robots that hold our cameras and hold our lights, motion control equipment, and they need servicing, and they need deployment, they need maintenance, they need programming, or you've never thought about animation ever at all before, but you love painting. Well, everything here needs to be painted. So if you're a killer miniature artist, miniature painter, oh my God, please. But if you just like animation, if you're just interested in animation, I would say just the coolest thing about like starting this stuff now is like there's so many stop motion like apps on your phone. Like you've got a built-in camera and you can just download an app. You can start messing around at home. You can get books like Richard Williamson, right? I believe. Did I get that right? Yeah. Richard Williamson's The Animator's Survival Guide is like the textbook for any animator, regardless of the medium. So you go buy that book, The Animator's Survival Guide, download an app, get yourself the world's most terrible little tripod for your iPhone so it doesn't jitter around, and just start pushing rocks around on your desk, and you'll learn a lot, and you'll see where you want to go. Yeah. That's the cool thing about stop motion is it's very anybody can do it. Anybody can do it. You don't need to be a Disney level illustrator to start animating. You literally just have to have crap on a table that you don't mind pushing around one frame at a time, and all of a sudden you're an animator and you can test it out.
Yeah. And probably have a lot of patience. Because it's
You
a
need a
slow
lot of
process.
patience.
Yeah,
It's a slow process. It's a slow process. But the patience is like, you can dial that patience in too. Like, you don't have, like, so many people, that's a reaction that we get a lot. Like, oh my God, I could never just like sit there and move a puppet. Well, back to, we have 200 other jobs on this thing that are still just as critical as the animators, that don't require that specific kind of patience. It needs different kinds of patience, you know? Yeah, it's really interesting. It's quite a collection of people that we bring into these roles. Just like any film really, but especially in stop motion. Yeah.
So are there other projects that you can share that you're working on now? What's next for you? I know probably not, because things are sort of top secret until they're not.
Yeah,
but
things are pretty
maybe
top
something
secret.
Personally, or something that you're working on now that we could think about. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I know that Zach is like knocking on my door again. So we've got another script in the works. That's another multimedia sort of affair that it's a script we're trying to develop into a feature length thing. We're chipping away at that, and that'll require, that'll be stop motion puppets. It'll be live action puppets. It'll be a whole, and then the main character is a real guy in an apartment. So that'll be a whole multidisciplinary affair. Who knows when we'll be ready for that one, but we're with the script right now. At Shadow Machine, what I can say is, like, we're working right now, because Guillermo said it, we're working on Guillermo del Toro's next film. It's called The Buried Giant, based on a book by the Nobel Prize winning author Kazuo Ishiguro. Brilliant book. I love it. It's not for everybody. It's very sleepy, but I love it so much. So we are like up to our eyeballs in that right now. And which is exciting. That's probably all I can say about that. But stay tuned. Stay tuned.
We know it'll be great. I mean, no doubt about it. It's going to be great.
Yeah.
So how does it feel to be screening Astronaut at the Portland Festival of Cinema, Animation, and Technology? Have you had a film there before?
I've never had a film there before. I'm so excited. It was like the one that we wanted. We've gotten into a few festivals around the world a little bit, but nothing crazy, but it's made a splash. People like it. The people who like it really like it, but it's not for everybody, because it's a little silly little sci-fi comedy. So it's, it's not some highfalutin Oscar bait kind of material, and we know that. So when we got the message from PFCAT, it was so exciting. It's just so exciting to have it screen at such a cool festival in our hometown, where we can invite the crew. We can invite my family. Everyone can go. My wife Molly did all the music for it, so like we can bring our kids on Sunday and we can all see it. Yeah, like my oldest kid helped with some of the sound effects, so is in the credits under a thank you, and she's like so pumped to see her name on the big screen. So it's like little things like that like really that's the coolest part about filmmaking to me, and kind of the point of the film is like when you collaborate with people you love, like the talented people who are right in front of you, and maybe you didn't realize they're right in front of you. Like, look at all the cool stuff you can do. And so getting to show that off and celebrate that on Sunday at OMSI as part of this festival is just like, we're beyond excited. Beyond.
I love that.
Cool.
And I think there's probably going to be a Q&A after. So I don't know if you're part of that. I'm sure Zach will be part of that. So people can come and ask their specific questions.
Yes, please do.
Yeah. I mean, my other question that I always ask all of my guests, and we sort of touched on this with collaboration, but what is your big, beautiful dream for yourself? So like if money and time was not an object, what is your big, beautiful dream?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think that, my big, beautiful dream is to be somebody, and this is what I'm trying to be here at Shadow as much as I can, as much as I have influence. I want to be somebody that helps get these movies into a place where they can be greenlit easily, because it's so difficult. It's so difficult to get these movies off the ground. It's so rare, especially now with all the consolidating that's happening at the big studios. Just like, where's the money? And so I really I've been working, this is more stop motion than the live action short side of my brain. But, I've been working here in Portland in stop motion since 2010, I think I said, right? And it's been primarily with the same group of a few hundred people. People come and go and it changes obviously, but like there's this like incredible family of craftspeople and artists and technicians here who make these big stop motion films. And a lot of us have been lucky to like string a career together here. Like it's kind of shocking. It's amazing to get to make doll movies in Portland of all places. But it's not without an immense amount of effort. So I think like my big, beautiful dream is just to continue to be a part of that initial crew. Like if I'm the first person that gets the script, like I say, like that's usually true. Like I want to do right by that opportunity and make sure I'm in a position to turn that script into a plan that is easy to say yes to so that all my friends can pay their rent and feed their kids, like that's all I actually like. I love filmmaking. I love it. It's like the best way to make a living, I think. But at the end of the day, like I really just want people to live good, happy lives, and they can do that if they're not worried about work. And I find myself to be in a very privileged position where I can be at the part of the tip of that spear. I'm not the exact point of it, but I'm in there helping to move these things across the starting line. So that's it. That's all I want to do. Is just keep getting these things going, started.
I love that. Just sort of helping people along, doing what brings them joy and what they love. And
that's it.
And Portland's a great place for that. I think, we're surrounded by talented people. And I think it's pretty cool that we have all of that here. In Portland. Is there anything else you want to share, talk about yourself or your work or PFCAT or?
Gosh, I think just like, just those general plugs of like, please go to screenings. There's so many cool screenings at PFCAT this week. Like you don't have to just get, like if it's intimidating to get the full festival pass, then don't. Just like pick a couple cool screenings because there's dozens of them all week. So just get out there, watch the movies, and and like ask people about filmmaking in Portland, because I bet even if you don't realize it, like probably half your friends are connected to the film industry or the puppet industry or the stop motion industry in Portland. And it's, just see what we're about. It's cool. It's a cool community. So come on board.
Come and support the films. Yeah. And the comedy showcase looks fantastic. I mean, I'll be there to see everything.
Oh, awesome.
I'm excited to see all the films. But it looks like a really fun time. So
I'm excited.
Thanks so much for being here. I know you're not really on social media because I had to dig around a little bit.
You had to dig.
I know. Is there a place where people can follow you, or is it really just follow what Shadow Machine is doing?
That's it, man. Follow Shadow Machine. You can follow, who you can follow is I'll put a plug in for Zach. You can follow Dinosaur Space Lab, which is like, Dinosaur Space Lab is like, it's a chicken and a rocket because that's what dinosaurs are. So Dinosaur Space Lab on social media, like follow what Zach is doing, and I'll be in and out of those productions, I'm sure, over the years. Perfect. So I'll
put a link for that in the show notes then.
Yeah, awesome.
Link up with him. But thanks so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know you're really busy. So I
appreciate you inviting me. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks so much for listening. Be sure to get your tickets for the Comedy Shorts Showcase. You can also get the full festival pass to fully enjoy the experience. Visit the website, pdxfestofcinema.com. If you want to follow Jared and Zach's next collaborative project, check out the Instagram, Dinosaur Space Lab, or attend the festival Q&A after the screening on Sunday. You'll find the links in the show notes. Be sure to subscribe and listen to this podcast for other interviews with filmmakers whose films are screening at this summer's PFCAT. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to share it with your friends. We'd love it if you could leave a 5-star review. Help us connect with more indie film lovers. Would you like to support the podcast by becoming a guest or a sponsor? Reach out at OregonIndieFilm@gmail.com.